if you're the victim of a burglary and a police officer comes to your house, one of the things they'll ask you for is serial numbers for things that were stolen.
It kind of runs a gamut of methods. It can be cash through the mail, it can be a personal check.
Hi, welcome to the show where we talk about everything related to the Tallahassee Police Department and all the services we offer. City law, city justice. I'm your host, Dave Northway, the Public Information Officer for TPD. In today's show, we will be highlighting a new program we have at TPD, LEADSOnline Report It, and fraud prevention tips in general. Joining me now are Investigator Shane Porter and Investigator Roger Phoenix. Thanks for being here today.
No problem.
So, Investigator Porter, can you tell us what you do on a day-to-day basis at TPD? Are you in an office job, or are you in a marked patrol car driving around the city? What do you do?
It's more of an office job. I'm an investigator with a violent crimes unit. Essentially what I do is when a law enforcement officer responds to a crime that a victim's reported and they take that initial report, my job is to follow up on that report and basically do the investigative steps that the patrol officer doesn't have time to do in their daily work.
So in essence, you're a detective.
Correct.
Just with the term investigator in front of your name.
That's
Okay, and what kind of cases are you taking? Are you taking all the cases from fraud up to robbery, murder? What kind of cases do you deal with?
I typically work robbery cases as well as some battery cases.
Okay. Investigator Phoenix, what do you do? Are you out there on the street, or are you also a detective or an investigator?
No, I'm an investigator. I work with the property crimes unit. We follow up on burglaries, thefts, anything dealing with pawn shops.
Okay, and burglary and thefts right now are kind of a hot topic because there are quite a few of them. I'm assuming you carry quite a caseload, meaning you have lots of different cases that you work?
Yes.
How many do you work maybe in a month, would you say?
Anywhere between 15 and 30 cases a month.
Is just assigned to you?
Correct.
And then how many investigators are in your area that work burglary cases?
Approximately 12.
And 12 of those people are all carrying about 20 to 30 cases per month?
Yes.
That's a lot of cases.
Yes, it is.
So one of the things that we're here to talk about is the LEADSOnline project. Investigator Porter, you actually brought the program to TPD. Can you kind of explain how that happened and what the product is?
Sure. When we brought the program to TPD, I was working in the burglary unit, and one of the things I noticed was we were only able to search for stolen property by serial numbers locally. And to better explain that, if you're the victim of a burglary and a police officer comes to your house, one of the things they'll ask you for is serial numbers for things that were stolen. And as an investigator, you then do searches for those serial numbers in the local pawn shops, and you try to see if anybody has pawned those items, who could potentially be the burglar, and give you at least a lead for the case. I noticed we weren't able to do that outside of the local area. So for instance, if someone came up from Miami, broke into your house, stole some of your items, and they went back to Miami and pawned it down there, we had no way of finding out about that.
And so pawning something, for people who don't do this on a day-to-day basis, a burglar is not going into your house to get stuff for themselves. They're not, because they see that you brought a new big screen TV into their house. They're not going to go steal it and bring it back to their house normally. They're going to go and pawn it. And how does that process work? Investigator Phoenix, can you explain how the pawning process works?
Yeah, someone will burglarize a home, remove property, TVs, jewelries. They will take it to a pawn shop, secondhand dealer, and they will pawn it and get money from the pawn dealer, and that's where they make their money from. And like Investigator Porter was saying, if we had serial numbers, descriptions, everything else, we can recover a lot more property and get it back to the rightful owners.
Okay, so once they pawn it, Investigator Porter, what happens then? You're saying that this program LEADSOnline is going to help us with that.
Correct. Two or 3 years ago, we were only able to search a local database to see if it was pawned here locally. Through the program LEADSOnline, we're now able to search national database essentially for those same serial numbers. If it's pawned in a pawn shop down in Miami, now we can find out. We can find out the information about who pawned it, and it gives us an investigative lead of who we need to be looking at as a suspect in the case.
So it essentially brings the world that we live in for people pawning stuff together, because if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Investigator Phoenix, if I steal something here, pawn it here in Tallahassee, and somehow it gets, or not pawn it here in Tallahassee, but bring it out to Texas to pawn it, we can check in Texas to see if it's been pawned in Texas. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what happens if, let's say, we do find that in Texas it was pawned, and now we locate it because you've used this program, Leads Online? How do we get it back? Is there a process for that?
We will contact the local authorities, have them go retrieve the property, and they would have to make the charges in their jurisdiction, and then we would get the property back to the owners.
But in the end, it will come back to the owners.
Correct.
Is that correct? All right. So what can our citizens do with Leads Online? Is there something they can do, or is this all internal through TPD?
Yeah, the citizens, you can log on to Leads Online, and I believe you can actually go to TPD's homepage, and there's a link that they can click on that take them to it's called Citizens Report It. And essentially what they'll do is they'll create their own Leads Online report, go through your house, any valuable electronics, jewelry, anything like that. You can go into the Citizens Report It section of Leads Online, and you can enter your serial numbers, put your model number, etc. If you have some expensive jewelry, you can take a picture, and you can even upload a JPEG image of that piece of jewelry. And hopefully your house is never broken into, but if it is, there's a button at the bottom that says Police Report, and all you would do as a citizen is print out your own police report, and when the officers get there, you can provide them a copy of your Report It page that has all your serial numbers and everything, so that the officers have a better chance of solving your case.
Okay. And let's say that I am a citizen and I go to this and I'm getting onto it. One of my questions immediately comes to my mind is, how do I know it's secure? How do I know this is a secure website where I'm logging up? I'm not telling the world that I have a new big screen TV and a watch worth $15,000 in my house. Can you maybe answer that, Investigator Phoenix?
Right. Leads Online has a secure server that everything would be secure on. Nobody could get to it. You make your own account, your own password, and that's the only way you can get to it. It's
essentially for you and no one else.
Correct.
Very good. And have we had any success stories at TPD? Are people using it? Are we asking people to use more of it? Is there a price attached to this, a cost associated to this?
There is a cost that TPD pays. It's basically an annual fee to be able to use the service. We've definitely had some success solving cases already. We've had property recovered that was taken in home invasion robberies. We've had several burglaries solved with it. We've made several arrests basically using the program. We had one even national type situation when one of our investigators got a call from a local pawn shop, and the pawn dealer says, "Hey, I had a guy sell a guitar here that it's a particular name brand guitar." He goes, "And I don't believe it's real. I believe it's a knockoff." That investigator was able to search this person by his name through Leads Online and determine that he had sold over 80 of these across the United States. Subsequently contacting the FBI, and it became a much larger case. And that's the type of thing we wouldn't have been able to do before.
Excellent, excellent. And as we wrap up this segment of our show, is there anything that you would want our citizens to know? We said there's a cost with TPD, but Investigator Phoenix, is there a cost for our citizens to use this program?
There is no cost for the Report It. It's free, and I recommend everybody do it, whether in law enforcement, civilians, because that record is very valuable, whether it's stolen property, fire, a natural disaster, anything like that, where we can get the numbers and get the property back to you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to come here and spend some time with us and tell us about this great new program. And we'll be right back on City Law, City Justice.
It's a career of courage.
It's a career of strength.
It's a career of honor.
It's a career of integrity.
It's a career of pride.
It's a career of commitment.
Character.
Honor.
Courage.
The Florida Department of Corrections. It's a career of courage.
It's a fast-paced life, always rushing from here to there and back again. And yeah, sometimes we go too fast. But your Florida clerks can take some of the sting out of that. You can pay your traffic ticket online. Go to myfloridaclerks.com. Find the county where you got your ticket, because most clerks now offer online payment. It's easy and it's fast. That's myfloridaclerks.com.
I had some domestic problems. I felt that I was losing everything that I worked for. One night I come home and shot a hole through the garage door. And then I end up in here. I had a nice house, good job. Now I live out of a 1-by-1 tin box. I figured, okay, I did make a mistake. Maybe I'll get probation, but I wasn't going to get this. This is your worst nightmare.
Hi, welcome back to City Law, City Justice. Today we're talking about LEADSOnline Report It and fraud prevention tips in general. Joining me now are Officer Delonna Hartley and Officer Anitra Highland, both of our Community Relations Department. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Hartley, can you kind of explain to me what your job on a day-to-day basis is with the Community Relations Department?
I'm a community relations officer, and part of the services we provide are public speaking. We do presentations on personal safety, burglary prevention, robbery. Another service we provide is we attend homeowner association meetings, crime watch meetings. We're also with the apartment complex crime watch program. The different programs that we provide help us in aiding people with burglary prevention specifically.
Okay. And so if I was a citizen, Officer Highland, and I wanted you to come to my house maybe and help me out with that, is that something that we do?
Yes, we do that. It's called a residential survey, and what we'll do is we'll come out to your home and we'll assess your home, giving you some tips on what you can do to target harden your residents.
So speaking specifically of burglary today in the LEADSOnline program, the Report It, what would be a target hardening tip that you could give out to our viewers today?
Other than LEADSOnline?
Yeah, for your home.
Well, what we do is we discuss like locks.
Okay.
We discuss your vegetation around your home, different things that you can do to make sure that it looks so that the burglar wouldn't want to come to your house, because they're like, oh wow, this house, probably want to move on to the next place.
So things like closing your garage door even when you're at home, something like that might be a good decision, I'm guessing.
Basically, to have any crime occur, you have to have three elements: opportunity, desire, ability. You can't change someone's desire or someone's ability, but you can decrease the opportunity. So you can do that by controlling the landscape, minimizing it, above the shoulders, below the knees, so you could see someone hiding behind it. You can do making sure that you're using the correct locks. If you have an alarm, make sure you're activating it, because if I look in the window and see your keypad, I can tell whether or not it's active or not. So the different things to make you realize how to make your home more secure.
Very good. I never even thought of that with the alarm idea. That's a great idea. Officer Highland, one of the things that you do is you meet with our managers of different apartment complexes. Can you kind of explain what that is all about and why we do that on a regular basis?
Yes. What I do is I meet with the apartment complex managers, both public housing and just student complexes in general, and I try to share information with those apartment complexes so that they can share it with the residents or the tenants that are there at the complexes, and then we share information back and forth. Okay,
and one of those things that we've been sharing with our managers is the LEADSOnline program?
Yes.
And why do we, I guess we can talk about a little bit about the college students that we have here in town. We have quite an influx getting ready to come in, and so I guess that with people coming and going, apartments are changing all the time, but with LEADSOnline, you can actually go online and have your own page no matter where you live. Is that something that I would understand correctly? And
it's also good for the apartment complexes. We have some apartment complexes that provide TVs and all type of stuff for students, furniture and that type of stuff. It'll give them an opportunity as well to put all their stuff online, so they will have it if say happens someone take their things as well.
Okay. And Officer Hartley, I heard a rumor that you actually went online and did this LEADSOnline yourself.
I just wanted to see what it was like, because before I, tell someone else to do it, they're going to ask me how to do it.
Right.
Just go to LEADSOnline.com. There's an area called Report It. You can press that button. You go onto it. You need to give them your email address, and then you set up an account. And all you're doing is entering your household goods and your inventory. It's not like they're going to be checking it to see if it's stolen for you. It's just an inventory list. And that way, if something does occur, be it a theft or a natural disaster, fire, flooding, something like that, you have the information in a safe place.
And so it's your own recollection of what you own. So if you have a 46-inch television set, you could take a picture of it, put the name of the TV, the kind of TV on it, and maybe that you put your initials carved into the back, maybe? Is that something you can put onto there?
I would tell anyone who's using electronics not to do any type of engraving. They now have the black light pens that you can buy online, and most pawn shops are aware of that. And especially if you tell them, I've put my initials on it. You look at an iPod. There's going to be nowhere to engrave on an iPod, but you use the black pen, put your own marking on it, and then you just let someone know if it's stolen. Can you make sure they run that under a black light? You'll see my marking on it.
All right, so a black light pen you can get at any local...
You can get online.
Just go and buy a black light pen, and then the pawn shop guys know that you're coming with this thing.
Yeah.
That's excellent. I never knew that. Officer Highland, being that Tallahassee is a college-driven town where we have influx of students all throughout the year, do you see that one of the things you need to talk to your apartment managers about is re-educating them, the new students, the new residents that are coming in?
Of course. With it being such a large transit population coming in and out of Tallahassee every 3 to 4 months when the semesters change, yes, we want to make sure that the apartment complex managers re-educate or educate those new students, because there's always freshmen coming in every single semester to school.
Excellent. So one of the things that we would want them to know about, obviously, is this Leads Online.
Yes.
And we have used different media sites to get that out. We've used talgov.com, we've done press releases on it, things like that. And we appreciate you going out and continuing to tell the community about it.
And we've also put it on our Facebook page.
It is also on our Facebook page. Very
Yes.
good. I forgot about that one as well. There's so many different avenues at this point. Can we talk a little bit more about what your day-to-day activities are in your jobs? I know you do the meetings. I know you do some public speaking, things like that. Can you explain to our viewers exactly or how the unit itself is set up? Because I know that and I'm even fuzzy about it, how the city is divided, because you each have an area that you take care of. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you tell us about that?
It's right now it's a 6-person unit. We're working with 5 officers. 1 officer primarily does Crime Stoppers, and then the city's divided with Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, just how they have it divided. So we have an officer for each section, and then the Crime Stoppers officer and another officer are the backups for the main districts too. So it works out to where we have backup, and we're able to attend most meetings that the residents are asking us to attend.
So like a northeast section of town, that would be your area that you would go to all the different
Correct.
meetings in the evenings, or what kind of meetings do you have to attend on a day-to-day basis, or a weekly
Homeowner
basis, I guess?
Association meetings, Crime Watch meetings. Sometimes we do internet safety presentations for parents. We may go to some schools and do presentations. We'll do officer friendlies. It just really depends on what the need is at the time.
Okay. And officer friendly, can you kind of give us what that means to the people who don't do it on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. And officer friendly, normally I do them at schools or at a daycare type event, and I'll go out, and what I'll do is I'll kind of give the little younger kids an idea of who I am, what I do, and how they know the difference, why I have on this uniform. I'll also ask them, do they know what number to dial if they have an emergency? And we'll go over different little things about, for an example, is it an emergency if Hannah Montana doesn't come on? That's really not an emergency. But is it an emergency if your grandmother gets injured? That's more of an emergency. Just giving them an idea of what's considered an emergency and the number that they need to dial.
Okay. Well, I appreciate both of you giving up some of your day to come out here and talk to us. I'm sure we've gotten some information out that people didn't know, including myself, about the black light pens. And we will be right back on City Law, City Justice.
Florida's commercial fishermen make certain that Florida seafood is sustainable. By adhering to federal and state rules, they also protect other marine life. TEDs, or turtle excluder devices, for instance, used in shrimp boat nets, prevent the incidental harvest of marine turtles and large marine animals. Florida's commercial fishermen, stewards of the environment.
When my dad taught me to run our boat, he always said, slow down a little and stay alert. A few weeks ago, Dad went fishing without me, and it turned out to be his last trip. I guess he wasn't paying attention, because he hit something he should have been able to see. Dad was my best friend. I sure am gonna miss him.
Hi, welcome back to City Law, City Justice. Today we've been talking about LEADSOnline Report It and also some fraud prevention tips. Now joining me are investigator Rob Grasso and investigator Rob Rohrbacher, and they're going to talk to us about some fraud prevention tips. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Mr. Grasso, if you could start us off, kind of explain to me where you work and what you do.
Well, Dave, I currently work in the Financial Crimes Unit with the Tallahassee Police Department, and I've been there for approximately 10 years in that unit, and I've been with the department for 18 years.
Okay, and you do the same thing as Investigator Porter and Investigator Phoenix do. Is that the same type of thing, a detective, but you're in the Financial Crimes Unit?
Correct. We're, both Rob and I are investigators. We work in a different section of the Criminal Investigations Division.
Okay, and Investigator Rohrbacher, same thing, you're in Financial Crimes Unit. What kind of cases do you guys see on a day-to-day basis?
Our unit works anything from your usual credit card theft that was used, unauthorized use of credit card, to identity theft, to checks, your bad checks, that were written or stolen, all the way up to electronic skimmers, schemes of embezzlement, schemes of organized fraud, all that, the whole realm of financial crimes. From the smallest, we still work from a $19 credit card thing up to a $2 million embezzlement. So.
Okay. And we're here to talk about some tips from you guys because you guys see them on a day-to-day basis. So right now the big thing is been some phone scams that we've been hearing about. Can you explain maybe one of those to us and we'll kind of go through them?
Sure can, Dave. We're seeing lately an influx of the type of scam where somebody usually is targeting an elderly person and they are posing as a relative, and they're claiming that they're in jail or they've had a car crash or in some type of dire straits where they need some financial assistance. And oftentimes these elderly victims are falling prey to this. They don't really recognize who it is on the phone, and they are sending money to these suspects, and they're losing thousands of dollars.
So quick, send me money, Ma or Grandma.
Exactly.
I'm in jail, I need to get out on bond.
Exactly.
And they don't even know these people on the other end of the phone?
Well, they think that it's a relative, like a grandson or a nephew or a niece or something like that, and they think it is, but oftentimes
they end up sending them money and there it goes.
They lose their money. That is correct.
All right, and Investigator Rohrbacher, any other scams you're aware of at this point right now that are hot and heavy?
On a similar sort of basis, they target, we've had a lot of, like we said, Rob said here earlier, some of our elderly citizens have been targeted. They've used some of the lottery scams as well, calling them up, getting their phone numbers and their information either from other databases or we don't know exactly where they acquire them all, but they'll call them and tell them they've won a lottery, they've won some grand prize, a very expensive luxury car or something, and then they call them over a series of days, build up their confidence, and then there's always problems with these. So there's fees that have to be paid. We have to pay for an import attorney to bring the car in over from Germany. The last one we had just recently was a lady believed she was getting a very expensive Mercedes shipped over from Germany. Then they convinced her, we need a little bit more money for the attorneys. There's some import fees. And over the series of days, she sent them quite a bit of money.
Wow. And these are all sending money through the mail, sending money through wire services, cash checks. Can you kind of touch on how they're asking them to send that money to them, Investigator Grasso?
Sure, Dave. Really, it kind of runs a gamut of methods. It can be cash through the mail. It can be a personal check. Oftentimes, it's a money order or a wire transfer. That's usually the fastest, and once the suspect picks up a wire transfer on the other end, you can't get that money back.
So the worst of the worst is to send money through wireless. If someone says, "Hey, wire me some money," that's the worst thing you can do.
In my opinion, it is, yes.
Okay, and I would guess then, Investigator Rohrbacher, the second would be cash, because it's almost impossible to trace a cash.
Yeah, cash you're correct. We cannot trace cash at all. It's sent to the post office. Generally, they always send it to a post office box, which people can rent, for a brief period of time, use fictitious names. They pick it up. We can't trace the cash. Another thing they've done recently, along with that, is they made one of our victims purchase prepaid Green Dot, or there's all kinds of different prepaid visas or cards you can put money on. Mm-hmm. Those you can also transfer money around. What they did, they had our victim call them back, give them the card numbers and the access PIN numbers on the back, and that's just about as good as cash, because when they get those, they can transfer those to different cards, different accounts, and you
never know where it's gone. Okay, so some tips then. So I'm at my house, I get a call from my grandson saying, "I'm in jail. I need you to get, I need $500 to get out of jail. What do I need to do? How can I verify?" Because you certainly don't want your grandson who has one phone call to tell him he's a scam artist. So how do I verify then that I am actually in jail? What do you suggest for that?
We definitely are encouraging the person receiving the call to call another relative, call that grandson's father or mother or another trusted relative to confirm whether or not this person in distress is actually overseas, or where are they at?
Right. So it's as simple as saying, "Hey, I'll call you back," or "I'll get that for you," and then put down the phone and call somebody else and say, "Hey, do you know that little Johnny's in trouble?" And if they say, "No, I have no idea what you're talking about," then the red flag should come up and you need to do some more investigation, I guess, huh? Okay. Any cases where we've been able to recover some kind of money? I mean, it sounds like it's all dire, but have we had any changes, or any cases where we've actually gotten lucky and gotten something back, or done the background work and gotten the money back for someone?
Actually, yes. We've had two here recently. One where the family basically did what Rob said. We're involved. It was another elderly citizen. She called them about it. They made some inquiries to us. Immediately, we kind of recognized it was being a scam. It was a quick turnaround, though. She had already sent out a large sum of money. Over $8,000 in cash was mailed to the post office. But because the family called us through that chain, they checked with other family members. They called us. We said, "Yes, we believe this is a scam." We were able to contact some of the other folks at the Postal Service that we work with on a daily basis, recovered the money, got back the $8,000 something, and again, it was in cash, which would have been untraceable once it left.
Right.
And that was for a victim here in Tallahassee. We've also had some, the one not too long ago, I guess. It was the opposite. The money was being sent here to some folks in town. Our victim was in Tennessee. This was what I talked about before. She thought it was a lottery scam, was sending $10,000 in cash to an address here in Tallahassee. The authorities over there found out about it through relatives of this victim, called us. We were able to respond and get the money back. And it was a vacant house. Again, they use that a lot too. Post office boxes, vacant houses. Right. They just drop it off. But we were at least able to recover the money and return it to the victim in both cases.
Okay, so in closing, as we come to the end of the show, I guess the tip of the day is, if it sounds too good to be true, or it doesn't sound quite right, you need to do some background work before you start sending money through the mail. Don't send money wirelessly, or wire money to somebody, and try not to send cash. Would you agree with those?
Absolutely, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have any questions, again, contact a relative or contact the Financial Crimes Unit. We'd be glad to take a minute to talk to you, and we'd rather prevent you from sending it out than to try to get it back for you.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you both coming out and talking to us today. Hopefully we've given out some information that will help a few people. I want to thank all of our viewers for watching us today, and to remind you, if you have any questions or topics you would like to see on an upcoming show, please email the Tallahassee Police Department at tpdpublicinfo@talgov.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on City Law, City Justice.